The day right before she passed away, she texted me from her little apartment down in her bed. I'm in pain. Come downstairs. And I went downstairs and she was in pain. I had to take her to the hospital. And I have a picture of her still from 2 days before she passed, laying on the bed in the hospital with things, on her, wires connected to her. And she has a smile on her face. And someone the other day, I showed that picture too, and they said, I wonder if she was smiling because she knew she was going home, and that's why. And I said, you know what? It could be.
So we were 19 when she was born. We were young to have a baby, and we had sort of just wrapped our heads around that. And then Lisa was born, and this was 1977. So very different times than today. And in walks this doctor and very brusquely says to us, the baby's a mongoloid, a term that you don't hear anymore, an offensive term. He then proceeds to tell us all of the things that she won't do. And as we're numb, he looks at us and he says, you're young. Put her away. Move on with your lives.
Put her in an institution.
So I will tell you my experience. I'm standing at the window of this hospital, which we happen to be on the top floor, 5 or 6 floors up. And I am thinking, if I jump, this will all be over. When I hear a voice from the bed say to me, we're still going to love her, right? That was the moment. That was the moment at which God spoke through Lord. And we decided that we would do that, mostly her. And that's kind of what we did for 39 years.
Yeah.
And I won't tell you that the journey was always easy. It was not. But all I can tell you is, of course, life does not come with a rewind button, but we would not change a thing.
No.
Because what we would have missed would have been far more than what we paid, if you will. Lisa was, we call her our special angel. We also come to find out that she had a very serious heart condition, which in 1977 they could not easily fix. They couldn't fix it. But her life expectancy was only a few years, 5 years, maybe a few more than that.
Mm-hmm.
She lived 39 because once we accepted what God had for us, he showed up every day.
We had wonderful therapists, wonderful teachers. We had a nurse that would come to the house and me being so young, I just looked at Lisa as, this is a baby. This is a baby that God gave us. And I'm going to treat her like a baby. She's one of God's creation. And Lisa just brought so much joy. There were so many joyful times that, quote unquote, normal parents take for granted. We didn't. Every little thing that Lisa did, we thought was, wow, Lisa could do this. They said she wouldn't speak. They said she wouldn't walk. She wouldn't talk. She's going through in our life. And that wasn't the case for us.
She talked. Oh boy, did she talk.
Speech was her specialty.
It was her strength.
Right, her strength. She learned to speak when she was 2, and you could understand her very clearly. She spoke at her graduation in front of 2,000 people. Got a standing ovation and her picture in the paper. Lisa was compassion. Lisa was love. I could yell at her for being naughty, and 2 seconds later, she'd be there to give me a hug if I got hurt. She just taught me more about God, because I used to say, if angels came down, I swear they would all be Down syndrome people, because they only know love and compassion and forgiveness. You know, she was my best friend. Craig worked, and we decided the best thing was for me to stay home and help Lisa be the best she could be. We did everything together. She was my joy. She was my absolute joy. She would hug me. I miss her hugs. I miss her hugs more than anything. But yes.
We just chose to love her, and she flourished. And without a doubt, the vast majority of the credit for that goes to her mom, who just poured into her. But we met all of these people who just had just a heart for our daughter. And she touched lives. I can't even tell you how many people, because we lost count. And they still, Lisa's been in heaven now for...
It's coming up on April 23rd, will be 7 years.
7 years.
We lost her.
And we still have comments about her over and over again. That graduation speech that Lori mentioned, the thing that I always remember is the valedictorian followed Lisa, and we felt so sorry for her. And it was, she stole the show.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
And she did that. She really stole the show in our lives too.
She was very strong-willed, and she wanted to give a speech. She watched all these shows on TV and saw people giving speeches. She says, I want to give a speech. I want to say something. And she went up to her teacher, who again was wonderful. And the teacher went to the principal, and the principal said, let Lisa write something. I will read it. And if I think it's, fine, we will let her speak. And Craig's sister helped her write it, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And she was so proud, very proud. She would always walk so confident, like the world she knew everybody loved her,
The superintendent of schools summed it up at the end when he spoke to the class, and he said, you just remember in life when somebody tells you you can't, Lisa says you can.
Right. When Lisa was 25, she told us, hey, I'm 25. I think I'll be moving on out. And I looked at her and I said, you are not going anywhere, young lady. I said, you have health issues. You got to stay close to mom so I could help you. And I said, Daddy and I will make an appointment for you downstairs. And that's what we did. And she would, are you eating with us tonight, Lisa? Nah, I got my own thing going on.
First, she'd ask what we were having.
Yeah, that's true. She would. And my laundry room was downstairs. And I went down after she had the apartment, and I said to her, I got to do my laundry. She says, it's in my apartment. I should really charge you money for that. I'm like, it's my washer and dryer. But she was so funny. She had her little greeting card business that Craig helped her establish, Special Angel Cards. And she sold them because we were doing a fundraiser at church. I think it was this month. It was in February. And
Valentine's Day.
Yeah. And she raised like 500, everybody loved Lisa. $1 for this card. No, Lisa, I think it's worth at least 5 or 10. And she raised $500 for the church, and she was glad to do it. She was happy. She just wanted to make cards and make people, that's all she wanted to do, is spread happiness to people. Yeah. I could talk about Lisa forever. Anytime Lisa was in the hospital, we would have the nurses come in all the time because she won them over with her sweet personality.
At our church, she was just so taken in and loved.
The pastor created a job for her at the nursery school. It was wonderful. The kids loved her. The teachers loved her. We're still in touch with the teachers. We still have Lisa's page on Facebook, and people still post on that.
I think the people she affected the most was our families. Her grandparents, they had many grandchildren, but they always favored her the most. Not that unusual, but none of her cousins had a problem with that at all. They knew Lisa, they knew that she deserved extra attention. They got it from them. She got it from them too. But, there was no jealousy of her. She had tremendous impact on her younger sister, Amanda, who really functioned through most of her life as Lisa's older sister. She was the most protective person of Lisa you can imagine. But Amanda just loved her sister so much. She gave a speech at Lisa's funeral that there was not a dry eye in the house. And it focused on the fact that, what an example of life she was. She never knew how long her life was going to be, and she was not going to be cheated. She loved Disney. I don't know how many times we took her there. Every time she was in the hospital, she would negotiate with me for a trip to Disney when she got out.
But I think Mrs. Rafferty, our neighbor who lost her husband,
Yeah.
Lisa befriended her and would make cards for her. And she'd ask me, can we take Mrs. Rafferty out to lunch? And can we go see Mrs. Rafferty? So Lisa was nice to anyone, whoever, it's not one person in particular, whoever was hurting at that moment. Lisa had a sense and would go over and just give that person a hug or rub their hand. She just was very intuitive to people's feelings. And 99% of everyone loved Lisa because she was just kind. She was just, who doesn't want to see a kind person?
For me, the person that she most won over was my father. My father was kind of gruff, and he had plans for me. And when Lisa was born, he was, what's this going to be? And within weeks, if not months, she was his favorite. Every Saturday morning, he would call her on the phone. When are you coming to visit?
Like I said, Lisa was stubborn and she was strong-willed. So she was on a mission. So she was gonna, you don't like me? I'll make sure you do. And it always worked at school, no matter where she went, in a store. Well, her favorite thing was to, like Craig said, compliment people. She'd look at, like, if she was to look at you, she'd say, "You're so handsome. What are you, 16?" And I'm like, Lisa. But she always had such a kind word for everyone. And she was smart on her phone. The day right before she passed away, she texted me from her little apartment down in her bed. "I'm in pain. Come downstairs." And I went downstairs and she was in pain. I had to take her to the hospital. And I have a picture of her still from 2 days before she passed, laying on the bed in the hospital with things, on her, wires connected to her. And she has a smile on her face. And someone the other day, I showed that picture too. And they said, "I wonder if she was smiling because she knew she was going home. And that's why." And I said, you know what? It could be. It really could be.
Lori, as her caretaker, it's a big job. And Lori did that, as I say, for 39 years. And most of it was just amazing. But she did have an experience a few years before Lisa died, where the stress on Lori was palpable. It was showing, and we were trying to figure out how to deal with that, what was going on. And Lisa had a health incident where she had a seizure. She had a seizure, and she was taken in an ambulance to the hospital, and Lori rode in the back of the ambulance. And tell the rest of the story. Well,
I was in the ambulance. Lisa called out my mom's name. Well, my mom had been dead for years at that point. And so when we got to the hospital and they stabilized Lisa, probably the next day, I said, "Lisa, do you remember being in the ambulance and calling out Nanny's name? And she said, yes. And I said, did you see Nanny? And she said, yes, I saw heaven. And I said, you did? And she said, yes. And I said, well, what did it look like? And she said, Mommy, it had the most beautiful colors I've ever seen. You don't see colors like that here. It was so beautiful, flowers and trees, just absolutely beautiful. And she said, and tell Amanda the baby, Amanda is her sister. She says, tell Amanda the baby she lost was a girl, and she's in heaven with Nanny right now. Nanny's taking care of her. Now, Lisa had an IQ of 41, but she did not make that story up. And see, Lisa taught me more about heaven. I felt closer to God when I was with Lisa, because she was demonstrating what Jesus was like. And I feel like I've lost that a little bit because she's not here to keep me on the straight and narrow path.
We know two things for absolute certain. God is good and God's in control. And his timing is perfect. Wouldn't have been what we wanted, but we were promised 5 years and we got 39. There was a lot of praying that went into that, I'll tell you.
But she was love, kindness, and forgiveness.
But since she's passed, we've had opportunity to speak with others going through. I said we wouldn't change a thing. We would change her health, obviously. We would, but would we, if we could go back and have her not be Down syndrome?
No.
Wouldn't change
Down
that.
syndrome, yes, no.
Wouldn't change that, because we would have missed way too much.
Yes. Do you see Jedediah, Jed, Misty's son? Have you seen him in videos or anything?
Yes.
I mean, he is just a doll. I will go out of my way in a store to find a parent and just say, hi, I'm Lori, and introduce myself to their child, because
She actually will end up begging for a hug.
yes, I used to.
Mind if I hug your child?
Can I have a hug? Because that's what I missed. I missed that hug from Lisa so much.
Yeah.
I will see her again.
Yes.